I'm filming a series of videos with Naz for the Joe and Naz channel, and the great news is that our first video is now live. So we did a trip, because Naz had never eaten there before, to Wetherspoons, which is one of the biggest restaurant businesses in the UK. It is a pub, it offers very good value, and Naz was very skeptical about whether or not it was going to be any good. It's a good video, it's really fun. Definitely recommend having a look at that. So please, if you'd like to help me out and Naz, then please jump over to the Joe and Naz channel. You can type Joe and Naz into Google search, or there's a link below this video. I pinned it, and also there is going to be a video at the end where it'll take you straight through to that video. I'll remind you again at the end. But we're having great fun here in Dublin. So a few people did recognise the skyline behind me. Now, I'm not holding the camera today because it was a little bit shaky. I got a lot of people saying they had motion sickness from the video yesterday. So apologies if you were one of those. But I wanted to post another video today because there's been a lot more developments in the war in Iran. Not surprisingly, it's still going on, it's still raging, despite the fact that Donald Trump has come out and said that he now sees an end to the war in 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, is what he said in an interview. Hello to South Australia. I got my first message there, so hi, thanks for joining me. Now, as a result of that, the markets went crazy. So we saw markets all around the world jumping for joy, literally. So the S&P and the Nasdaq jumped. The Nasdaq was up over 3%. The S&P was up just about 3%. The Nikkei 225 overnight in Japan was up by more than 5%. And European markets this morning are all bouncing. Everybody's delighted that the war is over. Let's celebrate and carry on as if nothing happened. But of course, the war isn't over. There's actually been increased attacks overnight, and Iran has attacked another tanker, this time in Bahrain. So it's continuing to target infrastructure and commercial vehicles and vessels. So that's obviously a major concern. And Iran, in response to the USA's statements that Donald Trump said that he thinks the war is over, and Rubio has said that he thinks that Iran are ready to talk, they've come out and said that they will be targeting US businesses. So they mentioned Google and Apple and Microsoft and Boeing, and they said that they're going to do that from later today. So in around 10 hours time, that deadline that they've set to target US businesses will start. So nobody really knows what that means. Some of those companies do have locations in the Middle East, so we don't know whether Iran is looking to send drone attacks against their head offices or whatever it might be. But it is a concern, and I think if you work for those companies, you would be very worried. You certainly wouldn't want to go into the office today, just in case. So it's really fascinating, and the oil markets have softened a bit as well. So oil is trading just around about $100 per barrel, dropped to around $99. And what that tells us is that everybody is desperate for this war to end. And the markets, as soon as they get a whiff of any good news, they bounce back. Everybody just carries on as if nothing's happening. But we know that Donald Trump is very good at sending out positive or negative messages depending on what he's looking to do. So just because he said the war might end in 2 or 3 weeks doesn't mean that it's going to happen. Now, the USA may be thinking about extracting themselves from the situation, but as I mentioned yesterday, the reality of the situation is there's more than 50,000 troops in the area at the moment. They've been moving a lot of hardware and a lot of military equipment into the region. And there's still a lot of talk about whether or not there could be a ground offensive planned for Kark Island. And I think Donald Trump's very good at surprising us. So it might be that he thinks by saying this that it lowers Iran's sort of expectations, that they think, oh, the USA is about to pull out. And maybe it's a double bluff of we then go and take Kark Island, or nobody really knows what is going on. But what we do know is that Iran is not looking to settle. They are not asking for peace. They are not reaching out to the USA or Israel. And Israel doesn't really look like it wants this war to end either. It's continuing to bombard the 3 countries that it's attacking, so Iran, Lebanon, and Yemen, where we've got the Houthis and we've got Hezbollah in Lebanon. So, and Iran, I think, posted yesterday that it's actually fired over 16,000 missiles during this crisis so far. So it doesn't look like there's an end to any time soon. And interestingly, Rubio in the USA came out and he's saying that the US may want to reconsider its position in NATO. Donald Trump's been very vocal about feeling that European countries particularly haven't supported the US in this offensive. And just recently, we have seen Spain closing its airspace to American flights. France also did that recently. It refused to allow certain planes, American planes, to cross its airspace. And Italy has refused for a number of them to make landings. And the UK has also been singled out by Donald Trump as being too slow, and he's used the word cowards at certain points. So the US is now reconsidering whether or not it wants to continue being a member of NATO, because it doesn't feel that the rest of NATO have supported it in this offensive. But I think when you look at the NATO doctrine, it's all about defense. It's about if one of the nations, the 31, 32 nations that are involved in NATO, if they come under attack, then NATO will support that nation and will help to defend it. That's one of the reasons why Ukraine wanted to join NATO, because obviously it could then ask the rest of NATO to get involved in its defense against Russia. But when you look at what's happening in Iran, it's not that situation. It's not that one of the NATO countries has been under attack from Iran. There have been a couple of missiles that have gone towards Turkey, which is a member of NATO, and that's been taken out by NATO defense systems. But Iran isn't actually at war with Turkey or any NATO country. The USA and Israel have gone into Iran and started bombing certain sites and trying to destroy the nuclear capabilities and all the other things that we've heard around this conflict. So I don't really think that this conflict ticks the box in terms of bringing NATO into the equation. So is it right to say that NATO haven't really fulfilled their obligations by not supporting the USA in this offensive against Iran? So I'm not quite sure about that. But anyway, the USA is considering its options, and I think that would be potentially a huge impact on the global economy, because NATO's been around for a very long time, and all of the countries believe that they've got each other's back, and that therefore the collective defence supports them against anybody really attacking any of those countries. Certainly Russia got very upset when Ukraine wanted to join NATO, and that is potentially one of the trigger points that caused Russia to actually invade, because they wanted to do it before Ukraine had a chance of signing up and joining NATO. So they made a preemptive strike to prevent that happening. So NATO is quite a powerful alliance and does provide global peace. And if NATO was to be broken up, then that could cause even more conflict and chaos and problems going forward. But I want to make this video because despite the fact that the markets have bounced back and everybody's now rejoicing that this war is on the verge of being completed, I'm not sure it is. You know, Iran certainly isn't very happy about the situation. They're not looking to settle. And as I said in previous videos, the current authorities are basically under threat. If they are removed from power, then obviously it's game over for those guys. And that's what Israel and the USA want. They want a change of order. They want to see somebody else taking over, possibly the old Shah of Iran's son, to be put into position so that he could then be friendly towards the West and all those sort of things. Just send a message, how are you doing? Yeah, I'm doing very good. Thank you very much. So, yeah, I don't think that we're seeing a conclusion here. And of course, the impact on the global economy, which is really the focus of these videos, is immense. So even though oil prices have now dropped to $100 per barrel, and it's very easy in the markets to just look at what's happening day by day and say, oh, oil's dropped in price, everything's good. But at $100 per barrel is still significantly more than $60 per barrel where we were at the start of 2026. And we were around 70 before this war started. So $100 is still going to cause major problems in the global economy. And of course, it's been at those levels for the last 4 or 5 weeks. It's probably going to stay at those levels for at least the next 2 or 3 whilst this war goes on. If the war doesn't finish after 2 or 3 weeks, then it's probably going to stay at those levels. And the longer it does stay high, the more the damage to the global economy will feed through. I mentioned yesterday that Germany's already cut its GDP growth expectations by half for 2026. We're likely to see follow-ons from lots of other countries following suit, saying, okay, we're not going to make as much growth as we thought we would. And we've got the impact on things like food from the fertilizer issues, aluminium, helium, and many, many more different types of raw materials and essential products that are being impacted on a daily basis. So I think I want to make this video really just to say, okay, so you may have read in the papers that Trump said it's going to be over shortly. The markets have gone fantastic. Let's go back to doing what we were doing. When you look at the markets, they are only down 8% against their high since this war started. And that doesn't really feel like an adjustment to me. We've had a number of announcements that there's been a correction in the NASDAQ and those sorts of things, but I don't think the markets have fully taken into account the real life impact of all of this on actual figures. We haven't seen any companies reporting yet, but we will get a wave of downgrades from all companies that are reporting everything, because it's just not possible to continue as you were when oil, which is essential to everything, and gas prices have jumped so significantly. And also, when's the war going to end? How is the USA going to affect an end to the war? Is it just going to pull out and leave Israel continuing to fight against those three countries? Because I don't think Israel is happy with what's been achieved so far. I think they want to go further. Whether the USA stays involved, we'll just have to see. But I wanted to make this video really just to bring you up to speed and to bring a bit more balance to the stories, to make sure that you're not just reading the headlines and thinking, okay, everything's back to normal, let's just carry on as we were, because 2026 is definitely going to be damaged in terms of the growth and GDP and everything else for the rest of this year. It's going to push up inflation. That's going to put pressure on interest rates. Interest rates increasing put pressure on demand, which therefore means that we're probably going to see an increase in a slowdown in the global economy, slowdown in certain countries, possibly even a recession if this war carries on for significant length of time. So just want to bring you up to speed. So thank you very much for watching this video. As I said at the start of today's video, the reason that I'm here in Dublin, which is a great place to come to, by the way, if you've not been to Ireland, to Dublin, it is vibrant, it's happening, loads of great places to eat. There's obviously the Guinness, which is like no other Guinness that you've tasted anywhere else in the world. I've been making a variety of videos on food. I've actually done a few on Guinness as well, so they're going to be fun. And me and Naz have been charging around doing as much as we can to maximise our time. As I said at the start of today's video, we have now got a full video that is live. It's Naz's first ever time eating in Wetherspoons. Quite interesting, quite amusing, got a bit of banter in there. It's really, really fun. I'd appreciate it a lot if you could support us on the channel by jumping over, subscribing to Joe and Naz. There's a link here. You can see the video in the corner of the screen. It'll take you straight through into that Wetherspoons video. Please subscribe. Please watch that video for as long as you can, because we need to clock up some watch hours. Please like it. Thank you very much for your support. I really, really appreciate it, and I will see you again on the next video.